世卫总部65名员工确诊感染新冠病毒。厦门市冷冻猪肉检测一例呈阳性，教育局紧急通知学生不得离开。中共移民局以防疫为由，严格控制人民边境的出入境。意大利研究称，新冠病毒去年夏天已在意传播。赵立坚再次甩锅病毒溯源是复杂科学问题。
从抗疫的这个情况看，我们很多主要的问题都没解决。第一，溯源还不知道。治疗现在看起来没有任何一个针对性的治疗药物。在这个疫苗，实际上我们中国呢，差不多是在同样的水平，但是我们需要有一个第一个阶段的结果以后再正式的公布。
意大利米兰国家肿瘤研究所与锡耶纳大学合作进行的研究显示，在2019年9月至2020年3月之间参加肺癌筛查试验的959名志愿者中，11.6%的人在今年年初或更早之前就已经产生了新冠病毒抗体。那么抗体检测呈阳性的血液样本中23份为2019年9月采集，此后的10月和11月分别有27份和26份样本。这就意味着他们在这之前呢已经被感染。这些迹象表明，新冠病毒开始传播的时间可能比我们想象的要更早。
I want to get to the bottom of this. As I've said, we have not been advised anything officially by Chinese authorities, and that would usually be the case. We were aware of some products having tested positive from Argentina that were in the same cool store, but not our products. I do want to get to this bottom of this. This is incredibly important to New Zealand. We are confident, of course, that our products do not and are not exported with signs of COVID on them, given our status as essentially being COVID with.
全民唱红歌，跳中字舞，不分男女老幼，听党话。
2次对冲一班。
江西井冈山一医药公司发生爆炸，2人失联，6人受伤。武汉洪山城管暴力执法，一群城管围殴一名卡车司机。
牛逼呀！
重庆万州发生3.2级地震，学生半夜被震醒，慌乱避难。
然后那个床就左右摇晃。当时我就害怕，就提起我的睡衣就往外面跑到宿舍楼下，然后就给自己的家人打电话，就说地震了，然后顺便报个平安，然后就发现自己手都在抖，然后说话都说不利索。
15号涵盖15个成员国的区域全面经济伙伴关系协定，也就是 RCEP 正式签署，全球最大自贸区正式诞生。对于这个利好亚洲经济乃至全球经济的大事件，亚洲媒体纷纷点赞。
覆盖东盟10国及中国、日本、韩国、澳大利亚、新西兰15个国家的区域全面经济伙伴关系协定签署。该协议原本应有16个国家参与谈判，但印度决定退出。
华为确认整体出售荣耀业务，并不再持有股份。港共匪军反党被捕示威學生，強迫趴地受刑。
會唔會太緊？簡單，當場感受到啊，係安全嘅。邊個？我會首歌。會唔會太緊？簡單，當場感受到啊，係安全嘅。
中共疯狂抹黑川普，博尔顿喊话共和党高层应承认拜登当选。中共喉舌《环球时报》称，台独顽固分子清单体现历史的正义。林郑月娥请求中央处理4名议员资格，称符合基本法。针对川普政府即将实施的制裁，党媒称中共不会坐以待毙。
Look, the Moderna coming out with these results, Pfizer coming out like a week after the election, a few days after the election. I mean, come on, guys. I mean, come on. Really. I mean, if those results had come out before the election, that would have had a material effect on the election. So you have to ask yourself the question, like, how did that happen, Chris? And you know, there are no coincidences here. There's no coincidences.
The thing that was always fascinating to me is that no one on the right ever got mad at me for having a conversation with someone on the left. It was always the folks on the left that went nuts that anyone who was engaging in a conversation with me. I'm proud to be a conservative. I'm proud. I like talking to folks on the other side because I feel like sometimes maybe a bit of understanding conservatives bring them over. But it seems to me as though the left despises even having that conversation. I welcome it because I think the more we spread conservatism, the more we talk about policies, the more we win. And it just seems to me that the irony that the party that talks about unity and inclusion is actually the party that doesn't believe in it.
Well, the more we speak together, work together, the more we can learn, and actually the better we can make the state of affairs that we have in this country, because we're in deep you-know-what right now. We need a lot of help to keep this America as the great country we always knew it to be, and we've strayed a great deal. And your point is the reason that I left the Democratic Party, because I was told I had to do something. I had no choice. My life was going to be hell if I didn't do what I was told.
Overall, our strategy is focused on two things. First is this Dominion software. We know, as the mayor said yesterday, that the 6,000 votes, this was not a glitch. For the 6,000 votes in Michigan that we can prove, we're now looking into other counties. We cannot certify this election in the United States without answering where did this happen in all of these 29 states that used the Dominion software, because we know that these votes were switched intentionally, at least in Michigan. And the second thing we're focusing on are the watchers. When they're not allowed access as Republicans and they're specifically denied looking at the ballots, and you have a ballot that is opened and it's counted, but it's not fully transparent, those votes have to be invalidated.
Jenna, do you expect this case to go all the way up to the Supreme Court?
I do, and I think that this is really important for the American people to have meaningful access to the judicial system, which is supposed to be the fair and impartial arbiter, and we should have our day in court. We've had an investigation now that's only taken 2 weeks. This is a remarkable just occurrence across the nation, and so we need to make sure that we have our day in court, and I think that the judicial branch ultimately at the Supreme Court will take this very, very seriously.
Facebook and Twitter CEOs Mark Zuckerberg and Jack Dorsey set to testify before the Senate Judiciary Committee tomorrow. They will address how their platforms seemingly censored the spread of the New York Post's bombshell report on Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden, and the deals he did with companies overseas while his father was vice president. Our next guest sits on the Judiciary Committee, and she will question both CEOs tomorrow. Joining me right now is Tennessee Senator Marsha Blackburn. Senator, great to have you. Thank you so much for being here this morning. What are your expectations for tomorrow?
My expectations are, first of all, that Jack Dorsey is going to come a little bit more prepared than he was when he appeared before Commerce Committee. Prior to the election, Maria, he looked like Tom Hanks from Cast Away, and my hope is he's going to be a bit more forthcoming today. We want to talk with them about Section 230. And liability protections, the way they have censored, the subjectiveness that they put into that censorship, the way they approach content moderation, and the changes that we're prepared to make to Section 230 in order to take away that liability shield from big tech and to preserve it for new entrants like Parler. And big tech likes big government. They like big regulation because it keeps new entrants out. So our goal is going to be this light touch regulation, go after some of the areas that need to be addressed. We also know DOJ has their suit against Google. You have states' attorneys general who have lawsuits, and you have the FTC that continues to monitor some of this activity. Congress has to take an action on both privacy and Section 230.
Tomorrow's news today, for all the hedge fund guys, let me give you a flashing news flash. Populism is on the rise. Nationalism is on the rise. Sovereignty is on the rise. It's an unstoppable force. It's an unstoppable force. You are not going to steal this election. Biden's already been considered, I saw a thing from YouGov, 80%, 78% of the Trump voters know this thing's trying to be stolen, right? He's illegitimate. He's illegal. He's feckless. No Democrats in the House, no Democrats in the Senate. They're not giving up a seat to go sign up for this disaster. It's not going to happen. I want to tell Klaus Schwab, the brains behind the Fourth Industrial Revolution, and there are forces moving that I think are leading to a Fourth Industrial Revolution. Okay, but we can't let that. Remember, the future is not to be discovered. The future is to be made. Your action, through human agency, we create the future. And let me tell you what the future is for all political types out there. It's what happened on Saturday, topped off and crowned by a great victory by Burgess Owens. We still haven't gotten down to the rest of the victories. I think we're going to pick up a couple more seats. And hat tip to McCarthy for recruiting the great guys. But I want to pivot from the forces of light. And if you ever had a doubt what side of the football you're on, in this self-organizing nature of this, just like the revolution, right? Just like the revolution, a self-organizing system. We're going to show you footage and footage and footage of Saturday. Vish. Footage and footage and footage of Saturday. Denver. This is the key to this. Okay, is this now we're going to the side of darkness? Okay, yeah. Fine. Okay, now the forces of light were out there with hundreds of thousands of upright citizens, veterans, moms, kids, blacks, whites, Asians, Hispanics, regardless of your gender, regardless of your ethnicity, regardless of your religion. And then comes the night. And so Maggie and Raheem, take it away here. What happened? What happened? This is BLM. This is Antifa. They're destructive. They are a destructive force. They are on the side of evil. Okay? It's not me saying it. Look at the streets. What do they got to do? They got to go destroy. They got to go into restaurants. They got to destroy to intimidate you. Well, that crowd on Saturday is not going to be intimidated. They're not going to back down. Number one, there's more of them than there are the bad guys. Raheem, Maggie.
Well, look, I mean, firstly, you saw during daylight hours on Saturday, completely peaceful demonstrations taking place all day, almost a carnival atmosphere out there, right? People meeting each other, exchanging ideas. Everything was friendly. And then as dusk set in, you saw the emergence of these black-clad Antifa BLM types at key areas around the city. This was not localized to just Freedom Plaza, but actually you saw up on New York Avenue, you saw up on Connecticut Avenue. You saw what they were trying to do is actually move throughout the city to a central pinch point. Now, some will argue that it's not big or clever for the MAGA people to go down to Black Lives Matter Plaza and demonstrate there, because guess what's going to happen? sure, but they're exercising their First Amendment rights, and they are well within their rights to go down to whatever street they want and demonstrate, especially a street outside the White House. But as you saw the day go on, you see these pictures up on the screen for the video audience here, you'll see it, young people, families, children, in fact, being harassed and targeted by Antifa. There are Antifa activists and Black Lives Matter activists who are waving knives around and getting challenged. There was a video of a man, and I appreciate that this particular man was in the fracas himself, and voluntarily in the fracas himself, but had turned his back on it to walk away and was sucker punched in the face.
He got crushed.
He got crushed, yeah. And a lady runs by. I won't say a lady runs by, steals his phone.
Yep.
And the guy that had sucker punched him, I believe, was also apprehended, also arrested. Turns out, previous criminal charges, including one of child abuse. And we're seeing that time and time again with Antifa and Black Lives Matter, by the way.
These are bad units.
People who have criminal records, and a lot of people are involved with these associations that have criminal records as it pertains to child abuse as well. That's something that should stick in people's minds. What perverse people we're dealing with here. But just finally, Maggie, before I hand over to you on this, is, you know, our lead story on the National Pulse at the moment is the fact that we still have not seen condemnations. No condemnations from Biden. These are Joe Biden, these are your guys on television right now. No condemnation from Kamala Harris. No condemnation from Nancy Pelosi. No condemnation from any ranking Democrats. No condemnation from congressional Democrats. No condemnation from local Democrats. No condemnation from Mayor Muriel Bowser.
Because they can completely ignore the entire story, right? Because the mainstream media is not going to play these clips. They're not going to cover this violence happening at all. And in fact, they're even scrubbing it from the internet on social media. Because,
what do you mean by that? Tell us that.
So the people that are seeing these clips, we know what's going on. We see this stuff. I follow a lot of other conservative accounts who shared the images like the ones that we've just played of people being assaulted, people being attacked in the streets by, black-clad individuals who are attacking Trump supporters and their families. But the mainstream media is not covering it all.
这就是共产党到处疏散独裁、垄断、欺骗，他就是把拿了14亿人的奴隶所生产的廉价物资和共产党核心武器市场，就拿这个来威胁全世界。所有的人就像当年这个宋美龄说的英国一样啊。这么一个民主、法治、自由的创始国，为了几个臭钱儿，出卖了自己的良知，与魔鬼为伍，大英帝国完也，完了吧？这次又是这，所以大英帝国的就完了。美国这次他们又想旧戏重演，又想让美国也是为几个铜板全跪下来。这次要成功了，就能投票，不管是谁，我跟拜登没有任何冤任何仇啊，而且。拜登的孩子第一次去北京，一直去北京，全都在盘古，是吧？叶简明他们所有的交易都是从盘古开始的，包括跟什么所有的，包括这个数码王国全在这，我都知道，我没有去揭发他，是吧？我们不参与美国政治，但是你跟共产党勾兑，你下一个伤害的就是我们中国人，一定是中国老百姓受害，最后羊毛出在羊身上，羊毛不能出在猪身上。他肯定把你养让你多活几天，但你得多出毛，绝不能把他从猪身上的毛放你羊毛身，不可能的，这不就中国老百姓是受害者吗？为什么要建防火墙？为什么要洗脑？因为他有一些不让你知道的事情。所以我跟美国人在一起，我说你们为什么不想想防火墙？他为啥要挡住防火墙？防火墙对谁有利？谁是受害者？我们中国人是受害者。老百姓是受害者，还有什么怕我们知道的？
韩国在首尔地区加强了社会疏离措施，辉瑞公司将在美国4个州启动其疫苗的试点交付计划。根据公司数据， Moderna 的病毒疫苗有效率为 94.5%。国际奥委会主席说，东京奥运会的运动员没有强制性的疫苗接种要求。英国政府已与 Moderna 达成初步协议，以确保获得500万剂后援疫苗。 受到病毒感染的黑人、拉丁裔和美国原住民的住院率约为其他人的4倍。经过30小时的飞行，4名宇航员已停靠在国际空间站。新加坡10月份非石油出口下降3.1%，这与前一个月的增长相反。
Dear mama, are you okay over there? Your son is crying and missing you, and sees you in his dreams. You sent Jake down to CCP, cause it's God's will, it's God's will. And so I'll wait for you, and I'll see you when we end the CCP, yeah. So